Still got that same old animation at the beginning with the live landing down there. How you guys doing? Let me know if you can hear me okay. I'm starting to see some people. There's already a whole lot of people standing around waiting and talking about it in the live chat. I really appreciate you guys showing up. Who's excited? Huh? Who's excited about this? This is awesome. Every year, it seems like, the last few years anyway, SpaceX does an event where they talk about some updated plans for the BFR, for the Mars mission and all that. And I guess it's that time of the year. It's the magic time of the year, folks. Here we are. Yay. So here's the plan. Here's what I'm going to do. First of all, I want to give you a little heads up, a little warning. My wife has not gotten home yet. When she walks in the door, my dogs are going to freak out. So you're going to be hearing some dogs barking at some point. I guarantee it. Not much I can do about that. But just giving you a heads up. So real quick, before the thing starts, it doesn't start till 8 o'clock. That's 8 o'clock my time. I'm in Central Time. So we got about 30 minutes. I thought we could pop on here a little bit early, do a little chatting, saying hi to each other, catching up. How you doing? And I wanted to kind of do a little bit of a history of the BFR because it has changed over the years. And we're getting some teasing shots of what it could look like tonight. This is what we're going to be talking about. This is what Elon's going to be talking about, as well as announcing the first passenger, or the first paid passenger, the first commercial passenger. There's been a lot of speculation. It's the first commercial passenger, and they're supposed to go around the moon. There's been a lot of speculation as to whether or not this would be like the first thing they do with the BFR. I super doubt it. I can't imagine that this is the first thing they're going to do with it. First of all, there's going to be unmanned tests, and then there's going to be manned orbits and stuff like that. I kind of even doubt that this commercial trip would be the first one around the moon. They would probably do that with a professional crew first, and then do that. So it's probably going to be a while before whoever this person is gets to go up there. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of the theories about who this person could be. Of course, we'll find out in about 30 minutes. So, but yeah, let me just jump in. I want to show you guys, just do a little bit of walking through memory lane here. So let me jump in here. So this is what was first shown to us 2 years ago when Elon first went up on the Astronomical Union and talked about his plans for the BFR. At the time, it was called the ITS, standing for Interplanetary Transport System. So here's a look at it compared next to the Saturn V rocket. Now, this was supposed to be this ridiculously huge, the specs on it right there, this insanely huge rocket. It was going to be 12 meters wide. I think that's like 30 feet or something like that. Just this insanely huge rocket. 42 Raptor engines on the bottom in the booster stage. And then this has been pared down over the years. But this is the top part of it. This is what it's going to look like. You can see the landing legs. I think this was actually supposed to be like Triton or something like that. This wasn't supposed to be the moon because you got those little plumes of, maybe that's Enceladus, the plumes of ice in the background. But the idea for the ITS wasn't just to go to Mars or to fly around the Earth. It was to go throughout the solar system. That's why they called it Interplanetary Transport System. But here's a little shot of the booster. So this is what it was going to look like boosting back into the atmosphere. So there's an outer ring that's kind of dark in this shot of rockets that actually isn't even being used here. So it was 42 rockets. It was absolutely monstrous. So that was in 2017, he came out and showed us a modified version of it. This one has 31 Raptor engines as opposed to 42, only 31 in the bottom stage. And it included these little delta wings. I'm kind of pointing at it with my pointer, but you can't see that, can you? So it's doing no good. So there's the top of it. Now they're starting to call this the BFS for the big Falcon ship, or friggin, or frackin, or however you want to, however profane you want to be. It's fine with me. But yeah, so it was pared down a little bit. It went from 12 meters in diameter to 9 meters in diameter. So that's quite a downshift. It was also done that way because the 12 diameter just did not quite fit in the production facilities that they had access to. So they scaled it down a bit to something a bit more doable. And so you wind up with this this 9 meter dimension here. So they still had plans on going to the moon. This was a little bit of a show of how they would actually get things to the surface of the moon, because everything from pretty much halfway down, maybe even a little bit, maybe 60, 70% up, all the way down, those are all just tanks. Those are just fuel tanks. So the only way to get things down from there is with a crane. So that's basically the plan for this one anyway. We'll see if it's changed today. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? But here's a little bit of, they also had a cargo option here for just carrying huge satellites into space. I think they were saying this by itself is bigger than any other payload capacity of any other. Yeah, it was ridiculous. But the biggest change really between this one and the previous one was down at the bottom of this ship at the lower left-hand corner. I really wish you could see my my arrow that I'm pointing at. That would make things so much easier. But you can see they have that little flare at the bottom. And it was said that that was to help with the, going back through the atmosphere, helping to kind of, there's specific words for this that are failing me right now, but that it was mostly to help it to kind of glide back in through the atmosphere. Elon had famously said that he doesn't like wings because they just don't have any use in outer space. And that's true, because most of the time that's going to spend is in outer space, but it still has to come down to the ground. Like if you look at the bottom of this picture, this is comparing the ITS on the right with the BFR that's there in the middle. Of course, Falcon Heavy's on the left. But down at the bottom, you can see the different layouts of how these things are arranged with the engines and stuff like that. And the special difference, to me anyway, is on that ship, the one in the middle there. It's got that flare, and that makes all the difference. Now, something I should point out just real quick is that the engines in there, there's two different types of engines. There's the sea level engines, and then there's the vacuum engines. The vacuum bells are actually much bigger than the sea level bells, because that helps to direct the flow of the exhaust, because there's no air pressure like keeping it together. It kind of goes in all directions and makes it hard to steer. So that's why they do the big exhaust bells for vacuum stuff. But just, what was it, 2 days ago? It was over the weekend. This just happened. It literally just happened. Elon posted this on his Twitter. This is a whole new design for this thing. Let me see if I can actually zoom in on this a little bit for you. Is it zooming? I don't think it's zooming. It's because I'm clicking on the wrong thing. There we go. So, first of all, beautiful shot. That's just awesome. But okay, so there's a few things to point out here. So toward the back, first of all, there's 3 different fins at the back of this thing. Starting to look kind of like a delta wing kind of thing. And you can't really see it in this shot because it's just so big, but it looks like it's on a hinge. It actually looks like these wings, the bottom ones, are going to flare out. And you also notice at the bottom of this thing, the bottom half of it, there's a bit of a heat shield. I don't think we ever really saw that on the previous ones, but not to the effect that this one does. But the biggest thing is, again, I was talking about the vacuum and the sea level engines. If you look at the back of this, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're all the same size. So this has led to a lot of speculation. So how are they going to, manage the difference between sea level and vacuum and stuff like that? And if you can see right around it, I really wish I could zoom in better here, guys. I apologize. But right around those engines is a giant cone. There's speculation that they're going to actually use that cone to sort of collapse over all those engines and make one giant vacuum bell. That would be really interesting. But I guess we'll find out more about that tonight. There's a whole lot of speculation about this right now. Up at the front of the ship, there's some little actuators, it looks like. I think Elon actually mentioned what it was in a tweet. I'll refer to that in just a second. Forward moving wing is what he actually called it. So that's basically going to serve the purpose of the grid fins, I assume, to help it to come down and land vertically. Let's get to this other shot. So yeah, that's what it looks like actually on the booster. And somebody pointed out on Twitter that the booster is missing the grid fins, and he did concede that, yeah, they forgot to put it on there in that render. So it will have grid fins just like the Falcon 9 does now. But this is starting to look more like a Jetsons kind of thing with those wings, that fin. That's just, it's kind of cool. But the thing that gets me a little bit jazzed is in this shot right here, if you look at the top of this thing, it's got that big, huge window, which goes back to what they had on the ITS in the beginning. They had this giant window in there, and they seem to have gotten rid of it. Let me see if I can go back to the... let's close this for a second. Yeah, at the very, very, very top of this... Let me see if I can make that bigger. Doing this on the fly, folks. Yeah. So you can see right there at the very, very top, there's a big giant window, and he was talking about how it was going to have the best views of any spaceship that's ever been built in the blah, blah, blah. And then they seem to have kind of gotten rid of it on the BFR. As you can see, there's just like a couple of bands of windows at the top of this one, and then 3 bands down below. But back over here, we're looking at another big giant window with, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 bands of windows going down it. So this is a vastly, vastly different spaceship. And I don't know about you guys, but that gets me super jazzed. I am so excited to see what they're going to announce tonight and what the changes are going to be and how things are going to look moving forward. If you look at the wings on this down at the bottom, or on the very edges of these wings, these little deltas, it looks like there could be like a telescoping landing pad. And I'm thinking this is what the purpose of these wings are mostly, is to land on. The fact that it folds up kind of worries me a little bit. I mean, I'm sure they have answers to all this, but we're talking about a gigantic, very, very heavy spaceship. And it's going to be held up on 3 points, and 2 of those points kind of have a moving hinge. The stability of that worries me a bit, but I'm not an engineer. I don't know what I'm talking about, as you guys all know. Anybody who's watched me long enough knows that. But let's get back to my face. Who wants to look at that when you can look at my face? Am I right or am I right? I'm not right. But anyway, so I'm pumped, man. This is going to be a cool presentation, and we're going to get to see who the first guy is going to go. The speculation on that. Let me go to a window here. So this is where we're going to be watching it. Hello. So the only clue that we have, really, from Elon is this tweet right here. Because he announced it, and then somebody asked, Elon, it's you, isn't it? And then Elon just responded with a Japanese flag. So the speculation is, unless he's just screwing with us, which is always possible, he is the chief executive troll of SpaceX. The speculation here is that it's a Japanese, probably billionaire. It's going to be somebody with a lot of money. So we're expecting this person to be Japanese. Just based off of that, we don't know. I thought I would just kind of refer to another couple of tweets that he did here that I thought were worth pointing out and really interesting. Hang on here. Let me find it. Maybe I could have saved these or something. Those are the pictures that he tweeted. So yeah, this was when somebody asked about what that thing on the nose cone was. What's this thing near the nose? Looks like some kind of retractable thing. And he said, it's a forward-moving wing. So we'll find out more about that tonight. This one, I love how he can be very sketchy and get across a lot with this. So somebody says, thanks for encouraging a fierce but friendly space race. Curious about something though. Any plans to try and land on the moon before going full out to land on Mars? The PR SpaceX would get for landing on the moon would probably be astronomical. Haha, astronomical. Well done. And all he responded with was, okay. Very cagey, that Elon. So I'm thinking he has some kind of plan to land on the moon before he goes to Mars. So if they're thinking of landing on Mars by 2024, and they're doing tests next year in 2019 of the BFR, we're probably looking at some kind of moon landing in 2020, 2021, 2022. We're probably going to have to push it back to 2022 because we know how dates tend to change with these guys. But, I mean, maybe they'll talk about that tonight. But it looks like he was, okay, we'll land on the moon just for you, random person on Twitter. No, I'm sure he has something like that planned, and that's super exciting. So, so we're about 15 minutes away. What else have we got here? So, I could jump into some questions and some comments here. I will tell you that the plan is basically I'm going to just kind of hang out, chat with you guys, and then once this thing starts... Ooh, it's starting right now. Okay. Well, once they actually start this, I am right here with you guys. I'm just hanging out. I got my wine. I hope you have a little libation for the fun that this is going to be. And I'm just going to be watching it with you. So once this kicks in, I'm going to stop talking because you're not going to want to hear what I have to say. But if you have questions, I will be answering questions afterwards, especially if you send any kind of super chat. I will look back and go through all the super chats afterwards. I can only do one thing at a time here. But let me just kind of jump into the live stream here, into the live chat. Somebody dropped me 200 of some denomination I do not know, but thank you for that. I'll get back to that later, I promise. The music, the hype. We're seeing moonshot starfish again. People are leaving very random stuff. Oh, someone's got some weed. Fair enough. That's right. Apparently Elon does too. No, I'm just kidding. Let's see. Michael Farrell has a question. Seeing you around, how are you, sir? If you throw your question out, I'll try to catch it before this thing starts. Elongated muskrat. The sun is flat. Of course it is. It's actually got a lot of spots on it. It's got a lot of pimples. The flat musk theory. That's funny. And of course the turtles. Michiu Kaku for science. I'm just reading the live chat right now. I'm out of stuff to talk about. I'd love to hear what you guys are expecting tonight. What you might be looking forward to. What? Oh, by the way, I should point out that my buddy Tim Dodd, of course, is actually at this event because his life is way more interesting than mine. So I think he's live chatting this or live streaming. Hello, my wife just got home. Hey, honey. Hello. This is how I talk to her, everybody. She won't talk to me unless I talk to her like this. Not true. That's not true. Okay. Not true. Hey, the dogs didn't freak out. I was expecting the dogs to lose their mind, but they did not. Oh, I have a couple of people that chimed in here. Joshua Ponce says, Joe, it's Josh from Miami. As always, love the show. Thank you. In all caps. Your opinion is very strong on this, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate the tip. Thank you very much. Who else popped in there? Let me make sure I get you here. Oh, Three-Sided Coin says, crab. Joe Scott and Everyday Astronaut on YouTube. Scott Manley on Twitch. Oh, is Scott Manley doing it? Of course he would be. Of course he would be. Who do I watch? Tell you what, if I wasn't doing this right now, I'd be watching Tim probably. He out Whataburgers me when it comes to this kind of rocket stuff for sure. So anybody that wants to go check out what he's doing, do not blame you. Oh, I guess pimp out my my new podcast that I'm doing with Tim, actually, in case you guys haven't heard. Myself, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, and Ben Sullins from Teslanomics, we recently, last week, launched a new podcast. It's called Our Ludicrous Future. It's kind of all things Elon Musk, but it's not just about Elon. We're not just going to talk about Elon, but, you know, Ben is a Tesla expert. Tim is pretty much one of the biggest SpaceX experts in the world. And I don't know what I'm an expert in. I think I'm just a color commentary, but we started this thing. We decided it would be a lot of fun to just kind of talk about what's going on in the news and just what's going on in the world of all these things that Elon is doing, SpaceX and all that. So yeah, you can check it out. It's at ourludicrousfuture.com. We actually do have a YouTube channel. I didn't link it up in the description. I probably should have, but anyway, go check it out. We had a lot of fun with it. It should be every Thursday when we put these out. We'll see how long we can keep the momentum going. These things are actually pretty challenging to pull off when you're doing it with other people because, you know, adults with schedules and stuff like that. Oh, we have some more people chiming in. John Garcia, my little boy William wants to say hi. Well, hello, William. William Garcia. William Garcia, this is Joe. Welcome to the show. I'll keep my language down just for William. So Morgan H. asks, please comment on the Elon interview with Joe Rogan on his fear about AI. Boy, that was dramatic, wasn't it? You could see the terror in Joe's eyes the more Elon talked. He was like, oh, this is what I've always been afraid of. When you talk to some people, especially the people who are really working in AI, they're not as worried about it as Elon is. Elon is a brilliant guy, obviously, in a lot of different ways, but I tend to trust the people who are actually working on it. The people who are actually working on it are not as worried as he is. And the more I personally learn about just the way our brains work and stuff like that, the less worried I am that like we're going to have some kind of sentient, godlike ATI or AI kind of thing. But I mean, it's definitely something that needs to be handled just the right way. So I definitely share in Elon's concern that people do it right, but I'm not quite as defeatist as he was. That was kind of sad to watch, wasn't it? He was like, I just kind of gave up. But I do agree with his idea of if you can't beat him, join him, which is kind of why he started Neuralink. And that was the part that got me excited, by the way. The fact that he said that Neuralink might have some kind of an announcement, some kind of news to share in the next few months. That I will want to hear about. I'm sure it's kind of an incremental thing in terms of being able to control more devices with brain waves and that kind of deal. But no, I think that's super exciting stuff that they've got going on there, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. Okay. So we're about 10 minutes away, I think. Getting people Slack or Snapchatting me over here. Okay, so Sleeve Dog is asking me to comment on Elon getting sued. This must be from the Vernon, what was his name? Vernon Ulschmeyer or something like that. Vernon Unsworth, that was his name. The pedo cave diver guy. Yeah, well, I mean, we all kind of saw that coming. That doesn't surprise me at all. He'll probably settle or something, but I don't have any more to add to it than what you probably saw in some headlines or anything. Doesn't surprise me. Thoughts on the Black Knight satellite? Who asked that? Who asked that? Come on now. Hermes Creophoros. I have heard that the Black Knight satellite is basically just some debris. Of course, that's what they want you to think. But I'm going to lean on that as opposed to it being some kind of alien structure or something like that. Usually, the simplest answer is the most accurate. So Babino Photography and Visual Media. When are you going to do a new car video Model 3? Congrats, by the way. Thank you for that. And thanks for the tip, by the way, both of you guys. Thursday. Plan is Thursday. I'm going to do a random Thursday car reveal kind of thing. So, still working on it. Got to shoot some more stuff. Let's see. I'm using a lot. I got to work on that. Sean D, thank you for that tip, sir. I hope your Model 3 arrived. Yes, it did. I got it on Friday. And there's a small bit of help toward it. I will need it. I will need all the help I can get. Probably not the wisest decision from a financial standpoint to get this car, but no, yeah, okay. So I've had it over the weekend. I've had it for, we'll see, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so 3 days today. You know, it's I'll be talking about this in my Thursday video, so I don't want to talk about it too much, but it's anytime you get into a new car, there's a lot of muscle memory in driving. There's a lot of feel in driving, and any new car is going to take a little period of adjustment just to kind of get used to all that. But just to exacerbate that a little bit is the fact that every car I have ever owned my whole life has been a stick shift, has been a manual transmission. And not only is this one an automatic transmission, you can basically drive it with one pedal. Like, I'm used to doing all these I'm like a drummer on a trap set with every single, appendage doing something different. And now it's just like, I just have one foot that does this, and it's super weird, and it takes a lot of getting used to. Plus, on top of that, there's, everything is just on that screen. So you're basically having to learn another computer interface, like an operating system. It's kind of like if you switch from iPhone to Android or vice versa or whatever. So it's just a lot of getting used to a lot of things. And the fact that I just bought it and I know how my luck works, it's like I'm just super cautious on the road, and I'm terrified that somebody's going to hit me or I'm going to back into someone. So there's a lot of that going on right now. We're still bonding. I'm still bonding with this car. We're still getting to know each other. figure out what we can do together. But I'm really enjoying it. The ride is amazing, and the sound system is amazing, and there are a few things that do bug me, but I'll be talking about that on Thursday. So enough of that. But thank you for asking. That's been a big deal for me. I haven't had a new car in like 13, 14 years, so it's a big thing. Primus81, thank you for that tip, sir. Let's see what else we got going on. Yeah, probably gonna start this thing up pretty soon. Hopefully I'll be able to put some sound through this thing. You guys let me know when they start if you can't hear it, and I'll adjust it. Let's see. Do you think that the cost of the Model 3 equals the cost of a newer gas car plus gas? Asks Rocktavio. It's a great name. Do I think that the cost of the Model 3 equals the cost of a newer gas car? Well, I mean, are we talking about a newer Kia or a newer Mercedes? You know, obviously that spans a lot of... what I've been telling people is that it's basically an electric BMW 3 Series. Because what I'm starting to notice, I shouldn't be talking about this because I'm going to talk about all this on Thursday. Everybody kind of has the association in their minds, Tesla equals super expensive, and they think about like the P100D, which is like $100,000. And I've already had a couple of different people that have talked to me about it, and I tell them what I paid for it, and they're like, oh, that's it? So I do kind of compare it to an electric BMW 3 Series. If you tell somebody that you got a BMW 3 Series, they'd be like, oh, it's a nice car, but it's not like, whoa, and that's kind of the deal here. It's a nice car. It is kind of woo because of all the technology in it and stuff, but it's not like, it's not super, super expensive. It's not that kind of expensive. Anyway, but the point is, I think, who was it? 2-Bit Da Vinci, who has a great channel, by the way, you should check him out. They did the breakdown of the true cost of ownership of a Tesla Model 3, and it basically over 8 years came down to about the same as a new Honda Civic or Accord. But they were doing the $35,000 model. So it might be something closer to, I'm trying to think of something in the $40,000 range. Maybe in the $30,000 to $40,000 range for a gas car. So anyway, a nicer gas car, yeah, it comes out about even to that, I would say. Anyway, that's my expectation anyway. Brian Gonagle just said he got a new Tesla and he actually thinks he'll be able to resist talking about it nonstop. That's adorable. No, I'm sure. I am adorable, but thank you. Thank you for noticing. Actually, the funny thing is I think I talked about it more in the lead up to it because he was just so like, getting ready for it. And now it's kind of like, yeah, it's my car. I'm kind of getting used to it, getting the feel and all that. Anyway. Am I doing a show on Neuralink? I will. I mean, I have done one before, and when they have some new news, I will definitely look forward to it. Is Cody's Lab out there? Somebody just added Cody's Lab. If so, welcome, man. Hey. Brian Wald, $20. Thank you, sir. Love you. Oh, I love you too. Just kidding. No, thank you for that. That's very nice. And I just spit all over. Ooh, Ben Appleby. What do I think should come after the BFR? Wow, that's... I would say probably some kind of space-based platform. The ultimate would be a space elevator or something like that. I mean, the ultimate point of the BFR is to get to space as cheaply as possible. It's supposed to be even cheaper than the Falcon 9 because everything is reusable on it. You're basically just paying for fuel. Not to promote Blue Origin too much. Not that I have a problem promoting Blue Origin, but I do like their idea of having, people living and working in space, like actually having, industry in space and construction in space and that kind of thing. I think that's where things need to go next. That and moon colonies. I've always argued that I think we should colonize the moon or at least land on the moon and set up some kind of base there before we go to Mars, because all the problems we're going to face on Mars, we're going to face on the moon. Actually, Mars is all the problems of the moon with a little bit of extra stank on it, because you're much further away and there's no rescue if you get in trouble. and you have, you know, sand and windstorms. You actually do have just enough of an atmosphere to screw with you, but not enough to support you. So it's sort of that nasty, weird middle spot. So you might as well test the stuff out on the moon, make sure it works there first before you ship it off to, you know, however many millions of miles away Mars is. It's not millions of miles. It is millions. I don't know. I don't have it in front of me. I don't know these numbers off the top of my head. But yeah, Mars, way far away, very challenging. We might as well test the stuff out on the moon, and I hope that they do that. So if you ask my question, what comes after BFR, I would say moon bases and maybe even asteroid mining. That would be cool. I know there's people working on it. Somebody threw a little tip my way. Who was that? Let me find that real quick. Leave no tip behind. Chad Kessinger. A $5. Thank you, sir, very much. Appreciate that. It's time for them to start this, isn't it? Introduce Elon to Isaac Arthur. Oh, man. Could you imagine if Isaac got under his skin and suddenly Elon started doing all that stuff? We'd have a scat-off thruster, and we'd be moving the sun around, and we'd be draining black holes and all kinds of crazy stuff. All right. Was there anything else I wanted to talk about? No? I should have a plan for live streams. I'm on the spot. I got 2,000 people watching, and I got nothing to say. Get the dog in here and let you guys fawn over my dog. So somebody keeps asking Elon Musk on Joe Rogan in question mark. I don't know if that's, I don't know what you're asking specifically there. Jose Jaime asked, how likely is Mars a one-way mission? I guess you're meaning that everybody dies there? Oh, God, that's a horrible thing to think about. But, I mean, I don't know. I put it at maybe 20, 30%? Maybe even higher? Let's get real. Oh, we got a Star Wars question. If JJ doesn't bring back Luke Skywalker alive, will you still go to see Episode 9 or boycott Disney? What's your thoughts? Well, way to spoil the last one for everybody. Nobody's seen that movie yet. I mean, will I go see it? Yes, of course I'll go see it. Will I boycott Disney? No, I won't boycott Disney. By the way, I don't even know how I would boycott Disney. Like, stop going to Disneyland? Done. I went one time and it was nothing but strollers to my ankles. I know that Mark Hamill's going to be in it in some way. I don't know if he's going to be like a Force ghost or if he's going to come back in some way. The term retconning has been thrown around a lot lately, and I don't know where that came from. I didn't remember ever hearing it before, just recently. But it basically means going back and undoing what happened in a previous movie in some way, or just pretending it didn't happen. Some people are talking about some retconning when it comes to Episode 9. My question is, how are they going to use Leia? I know that Carrie Fisher is supposed to be in it, and I know they're supposed to be using some footage from The Force Awakens that they shot with her, and including her in that way. So that'll be interesting. I'm not sure. So cool. Benjamin McMillan, how hard do you think it would be to climb Olympus Mons on Mars due to gravity? Would it be easier than on Earth? I'm going to expect that it's not going to be easy no matter how much gravity helps you out, because Olympus Mons is huge. It's like as big as Texas or something like that. It's insane. So, I mean, you're basically talking about walking halfway across Texas. Even if there wasn't any elevation, that would be a huge challenge. I don't even know if you could do it with equipment on, unless they had some kind of converter that could convert all the carbon dioxide in the Martian air into oxygen that you could carry with you. You wouldn't be able to actually carry the supplies all the way across. It would have to be a caravan. You'd have to move the whole thing. It would be an ordeal without the elevation. And then you also have the elevation, which is going way up into the air, and it would probably be, I don't know what the temperature would be on the top of Olympus Mons. I'm sure somebody could go out there and look for it, but it would. I don't think it's doable. I'm just going to say it. I don't think it's doable. Olympus Mons is huge. It's huge. Let's see what else. Somebody else posted something here. They're running behind, guys. They are running behind. Oh, and people are getting nice and political. That's great. Actually, it looks like Michael Wade. Here we go. If you haven't plugged the podcast, do it. I did. Beat you to it. There you go. And if I have, shut up and take your money. You're just fine. I'll do that. I'll take your money. No, thanks, Michael. Michael and I have actually had a chat before. He's a good guy. But yeah, I pimped out the podcast earlier. It's doing pretty well, actually, considering we only have one episode out and we don't know what we're doing. So that's good. Oh, Kung Fu Kenny is the private passenger, and don't spread the word. By the way, oh shoot, man, I was gonna have a cool little visual gag, and I totally forgot about it. I was thinking the fact that they only have one guy. There's got to be some more that are on the way. They can't. I cannot imagine they're gonna send the BFR all the way around the moon with only one person on it. That's just insane. I mean, there's gonna have to be some kind of crew or something like that. But I was imagining one person inside this giant spaceship that's supposed to be built for what, 70, 80, 100 people, something like that. Here's my question to you. If you had the BFR all to yourself floating around the Earth or around the moon, what would you do? Let's play around with that. I want to hear what you guys would do if you were up in the BFR floating around the moon all by yourself. I visualize the Fatboy Slim weapon of choice video. I would just be Christopher Walken flying around a hotel lobby. That would be me. I was going to actually pull that up, but I forgot to cue it. So that's what I want to hear from you guys. What would you do in the BFR all by yourself for, how long would it be? A week? 8 days? How would you entertain yourself in zero gravity in a giant spaceship? I think that would be fun. It would be like having a whole trampoline park to yourself. Except there's no gravity. Oh, we're starting up. We are starting up, people. So let me make sure that the sound is up. I don't hear any sound. Why am I not hearing any sound? Hopefully there's just not any sound right now. I really hope there's not like an audio problem here. Oh, they've got 68,000 people watching and I only have 2,600. Whatever. Actually, the fact that there are 2,600 people watching me right now is kind of horrifying. Okay. Give me just a second. I want to make sure that there's not a sound problem here, because that would suck. I will make the screen bigger, by the way, when it gets started. In fact, let me move it around a little bit. A little bit. Yeah, I'll expand that when they get started. Hopefully that's just like a shot and it's not... That's a cool set. It looks like he's going to be talking up like right in front of the engines. Oh, if you look on the wall, there's a little schematic of it right there. Okay. And it does definitely have those three I don't know, wings, whatever you want to call it. And those two up front. I wonder if those are up on the very front of it. Oh, my cat decided to make an entrance. Cats. All right. I'm just along for the ride with you guys at this point, so let's see what happens. So real quick, Michael Svalhart asked if the podcast is on iHeartRadio. I don't know. Ben actually set up where all it's going out to. I know it's kind of like filtered into a whole bunch of different podcast carriers, and I don't know if iHeartRadio is one of them. I think the last time I heard it was not, but I'm not sure. Glory or Death 116. Hey Joe, what's up? Finally caught a live stream. Well, there you go, buddy. Good to see you. Fix the sound, I'm being told. I don't know what to tell you, man. I've got this playing right here, and I'm not hearing anything. Maybe it's just like a security camera or something. They haven't actually gotten started yet. Tell you what, let me do this. Hang on just a second, guys. I'm gonna just check and make sure this isn't just me. Okay, so I'm playing something on another window and there's no sound coming through. What is up with that? Hang on. Great. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Cortex. Okay. All right, so there was some weird sound issues on my... Oh, that's so cool. Look at that. All right, I am experiencing some sound issues on my computer for some reason. Amazing. Okay, so basically I have my sound only able to come through my computer speakers right now. My little laptop speakers. So I'm going to do my best to make sure you can hear this, but let me see here. Oh, here he comes.
All right, let's see what you give me updates as you can. Great. Well, welcome. We're incredibly excited to talk more about the BFR rocket and announce the first private astronaut, first a private citizen that's going to go into deep space. And I'm going to start off with just talking a bit about BFR and kind of how we got to this point. So the purpose of SpaceX, the reason for creating SpaceX was to accelerate the advent of humanity becoming a spacefaring civilization, to help advance rocket technology to the point where we could potentially become a multi-planet species and a true spacefaring civilization. So, as we consider sort of the fossil record, the history of civilization, it's important to bear in mind, like, there could be some natural event or some man-made event that ends civilization as we know it, or in life as we know it. And so it's important that we try to become a multi-planet civilization, extend life beyond Earth, and to do so as quickly as we can. That window of opportunity may be open for a long time, or it may be open for a short time, but we should not assume that it is open for a long time. We should take action and become a multi-planet civilization as soon as possible. And that's kind of like the defensive reason. I do want to emphasize it's multi-planetary, not single planet, but somewhere else. We want to become a multi-planet civilization.
Sorry about that.
Have life on Mars, Moon, maybe Venus, the moons Jupiter, throughout the solar system, and then ultimately extend life beyond the solar system to other star systems. But I think that's the future that's incredibly exciting. I think that's the future that we want. And there's so many things that make people sad or depressed about the future, but I think becoming a spacefaring civilization is one of those things that makes you excited about the future, makes you excited to get up in the morning. Like, this is something that you can look forward to. That makes you glad to be a human being. I hope that people will see it that way. That is the intent of BFR, is to make people excited about the future. So this is sort of an illustration of what it'd be like on Mars base. And when I talk about it, it will show you, like, this is where we were 10 years ago. So we're almost at the 10th anniversary of SpaceX's first flight to orbit. So that was 2008. Yeah, September 2008. It's the first time we made orbit. And we'd had 3 attempts before that that did not succeed. That's hot in here. So we'd had 3 attempts to reach orbit, and then the fourth attempt reached orbit in September 2008. And if we had not reached orbit on that attempt, the SpaceX would not exist. So that was the fourth and final possibility of reaching orbit. So that was a very, very tough launch emotionally. But fortunately, that launch did make it to orbit. And then not long after that, we won our first really major NASA contract, or we won the space station servicing contract, and those were 2 things that were instrumental in SpaceX's success. Then that brings us to where we were earlier this year, which was the launch of Falcon Heavy. So we went from Falcon 1 being just a little rocket that could launch only half a ton to low Earth orbit, and it had no reusability, to Falcon Heavy, which is the most powerful rocket in the world by a factor of 2, with enough payload to orbit capability, but a fully loaded 737 passengers, fuel, and luggage into orbit. And we were able to launch sort of a fun payload, which is, a Tesla Roadster with sort of a Starman mannequin to Mars orbit. So we were able to launch quite a heavy payload to Mars orbit and bring the 2 side boosters back and land them back at Cape Canaveral. The center core didn't land successfully, but we'll be able to do that, we think, in a subsequent launch. But it was a massive change over the course of 10 years to go from just barely being able to get to orbit to the most powerful launch vehicle in the world by a factor of 2, to have full reusability of the boost stage. We've now done missions where we've launched the boost stage several times, which is like quite great. And then we've been able to refly our Dragon spacecraft. So it's an enormous change over the course of 10 years. And I think if you say like, okay, how many people predicted in 2008 that SpaceX would have done these things by 2018? I think 0. I think 0. Like, I'm not sure it's 0, but I'm not aware of anyone who had made that prediction, including me, by the way. I would have said this is unlikely. Nonetheless, in 10 years, we got from tiny rockets barely making it to orbit to the world's biggest rocket by far, with reusable boost stages and sending a car to Mars. By the way, a lot of people don't understand like why we sent a car to Mars. Obviously, that's a bit confusing. Why would you send a car to Mars? That's bizarre. But the real reason was we wanted to just have something that was fun and that people could identify with. And you know, normally when a company creates a new rocket, they like just launch like a slab of concrete or something. And I was like, well, that's pretty boring. So we wanted something that was fun and that felt like you could maybe be there. And that was like the reasoning behind the car and the astronaut in the car. It was a tribute to David Bowie and the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and a few other things. And there's also like the Asimov Foundation series etched in glass in the glove compartment. So that's in fact Asimov's Foundation series is a key inspiration for SpaceX. So just an update on BFR itself. So the design, the production design of BFR is different in some important ways from what I presented about a year ago. Overall, it is 118 meters long. The payload is still similar. It's about 100 metric tons. That's 100 metric tons to, well, actually technically 100 metric tons to all the way to Mars because of orbital refueling or orbital retanking. So BFR is designed to be able to take 100 tons all the way to the surface of Mars, or to any, well, surface of Mars, maybe Ceres, but if you have a propellant depot on Mars, you're able to get from Mars to the asteroid belt to the moons of Jupiter, and kind of like planet and moon hop all the way to the outer solar system. So BFR is really intended as an interplanetary transport system that's capable of getting from Earth to anywhere in the solar system as you establish propellant depots along the way. Yeah. So we've increased the payload section to be over 1,000 cubic meters. I think it'll probably end up being something around 1,100 cubic meters. There are forward actuated fins and rear actuated fins. The way that BFR flies is somewhat counterintuitive. If you apply your sort of normal intuition, it will not make sense. I'll try to illustrate that in this presentation. So there's the two forward actuated flaps, and then there are two rear actuated wings or fins or flaps, depending on what, they're not exactly comparable to anything else out there. But you kind of want four control surfaces to be able to control the vehicle through a wide range of atmospheric densities and
and velocities. So the way it operates is kind of more like a skydiver than an aircraft. Almost the entire time when it's re-entering, it is just trying to brake. It's just trying to stop. So it's doing everything it can to shed velocity while distributing that force over the most amount of surface area possible. So two of the three rear fins actuate. They're like giant wings. It actually requires an enormous amount of force to move those wings. It's sort of in the meganewton class of force. The third fin, or wing-like structure, is actually does not actuate, and it is not a vertical stabilizer as it may appear. It is actually just a leg. So during the high velocity portion of entry, it's in the lee of the wind, and it really doesn't have any aerodynamic purpose, and it's really just a leg. It looks the same as the other ones for purposes of symmetry. So this is a true physics simulation of BFR re-entering. So it is mostly just coming in like this. At a very high angle of attack. In fact, one of the things that, for the general public, is a tricky thing to understand is that orbit means you are zooming around the Earth at a very high speed. It's counterintuitive where people think perhaps once you get to a certain altitude, gravity turns off. This is not the case. In order to go up and stay up, you have to move around the Earth at approximately 25 times the speed of sound. So in fact, the space station is circling the Earth every 90 minutes. This is a very important concept to understand, that orbit is entirely about your speed horizontal to the ground or parallel to the ground. It is going up and staying up the only reason you need altitude at all is to get out of atmospheric drag. So if Earth didn't have an atmosphere, you could orbit 1 meter or like 3.28 feet above the ground, no problem. Well, a little dodgy, but it's technically possible. So yeah, if you looked at that simulation, it might be worth playing that again, actually. So you can see it's basically coming in, if this is the Earth, if this stage is the Earth, it's coming in like that. And it's just using its entire body to brake. And it sort of goes like that and slows down, and then it falls like a skydiver. And then it rights itself, fires the engine, and lands on the fins. I mean, this will look really epic in person. It looks like guaranteed to be exciting. Then you can see it sort of falling body first for quite a while. And it's really quite gentle. You're just sort of falling at terminal velocity for quite a long time. Very gentle fall, just sort of like floating down. And then it rights itself at the end, fires the engines and lands. It's very counterintuitive. It's not like anything that people are familiar with. It's not like an airplane. Or, yeah. And then obviously, if you're landing on the moon, you don't need any aerodynamic surfaces at all, because there's no air. You just need thrusters. So the next steps with BFR are we're going to build it, or we are building it. This is a picture of the main cylinder section of BFR. So BFR is 9 meters in diameter. It's really quite enormous. you can get a sense of scale. Like that's to scale. So that gives you a sense of the size of the vehicle. Quite enormous. But we're already building it. So we've built the first cylinder section. So that's the first actual cylinder section of the BFR prototype. And we'll be building the domes and the engine section soon. And then this is the Raptor engine. So this is the Raptor engine that will power BFR, both the ship and the booster. It's the same engine. And this is approximately a 200-ton thrust engine that's aiming for roughly 300 bar or 300 atmosphere chamber pressure. And depending upon, if you have it at a high expansion ratio, it has the potential to have a specific impulse above 380. But it's a stage combustion, full flow, gas, for those who are interested in technical details. Like I'm really excited about this engine design. I think the SpaceX propulsion team has done an amazing job on this engine design. And the SpaceX structures and aero, like really, SpaceX team has done a phenomenal job in design of this. It's like super great. Like, well done, guys. I mean, like this is a stupidly hard problem, and SpaceX engineering has, I think, done a great job with this design. It's like I don't think most people, even in the aerospace industry, like know what question to ask. Like it took us a long time to even frame the question correctly. But once we could frame the question correctly, the answer was, I wouldn't say easy, but the answer flowed once the question could be framed with precision. And framing that question with precision was very difficult. Oh, yeah. So this is the trajectory. So we'll take off, have booster separation, go into parking orbits, do a translunar injection, fly around the moon, and then come back and land. Yeah. That should take a few, basically about 4 or 5 days, and be very exciting indeed. We'll do a bunch of test launches without any people on board before having people on board. To be clear, it's going to be very important to test this vehicle thoroughly before putting anyone on board. Yeah, but I can't wait. Like I'm super fired up about this. This is amazing. So, funding BFR is definitely a key question, and that's really where we need to seek every possible means of funding. Obviously, we've got launching of satellites. We've got servicing the space station. So we've been transporting cargo to and from the space station for several years now. And next year we'll start transporting astronauts to and from the space station. We've got the Starlink global broadband system that we're developing, which will also be a key source of revenue. But then private customers or any customers for BFR are incredibly helpful in funding the development of the rocket. So that's where I'd like to introduce the first paying customer of BFR. So let's see. Would Yusaku Mizawa please come forward? Yeah. Okay, looks like my vote.
Thank you, Elon. Thank you, everyone. Wow. I am from Japan. My name is Yusaku Maezawa. You can call me MZ, please. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thanks for coming to this conference today, and thanks for watching live streaming in the internet today. Yeah. Finally, I can tell you that I choose to go to the moon. Yeah. Finally, I can say I'm very glad to be here, and I'm really exciting and really honored, really appreciate to be able to share this announcement with you and people all over the world. Before talking about the moon and this project, I'd like to introduce myself a little bit, okay? Yeah. Oh, I cannot speak English very well, so please listen carefully, please. Yeah. You can see next photo. This is me. I was ex-skateboarder. And does anyone know where this is? No? This is Santa Monica. Yeah. Yeah. I had been here, I had been Santa Monica, Los Angeles when I was 18 years old. And I was a skateboarder. I was so impressed by America. Its fashion, music, art, and culture. And of course, nice people like you. Kind, American people is very kind, yes. And after 6 months staying here, I returned back to Japan and started music. Next photo, please. I played drums for the band. Our band music is so loud, so you don't have to listen to. But I was ex-musician. And after the band, I started my own company. Please? Yes. My company is founded 20 years ago by me. So this year, my company is 20th anniversary. Woo. Thank you. And finally, we started our private fashion label. That name is Zozo, Z-O-Z-O. And the Zozo slogan is be unique, be equal. We are all unique. At the same time, we are all equal. It's important for us. Yeah. You can check our website, zozo.com, zozo.com later. Thank you. Okay, that's all about me. So let's move talking about the moon and this project, okay? Yeah. Now on to the main topic of the day. Many of you may be wondering, why do I want to go to the moon? What do I want to do there? And most of all, why did I purchase the entire BFR? Entire BFR, very huge. For me, this project is very meaningful. I thought long and hard about how valuable it would become the first private passenger to go to the moon. At the same time, I thought about how I can give back to the world and how this can contribute to world peace. This is my lifelong dream. Today, thank you. Thank you. Today, I'd like to tell you about my plans. Okay? Ever since I was a kid, I have loved the moon. Just staring the moon filled my imagination. It's always there and has continued to inspire humanity. That is why I could not pass up this opportunity to see the moon up close. And at the same time, I did not want to have such a fantastic experience by myself. That would be a little lonely. I don't like being alone. So I want to share these experiences and things with as many people as possible. So that is why I choose to go to the moon. I choose to go to the moon with artists. With artists. From now, I choose to invite artists from around the world on my journey. The first artist I thought of was, do you know, Jean-Michel Basquiat, you know? As you can see, I am wearing a Comedy Garrison t-shirt featuring Jean-Michel Basquiat. He already passed away. He's a New York artist. One day, when I was staring at his painting, I thought, what if Basquiat had gone to space and had seen the moon up close, or saw the Earth in full view? What wonderful masterpiece would he have created? Just thinking about it now gets my heart racing. But once I got started, I could not stop thinking about who else. What if Picasso had gone to the moon, or Andy Warhol, or Michael Jackson, or John Lennon, or Coco Chanel? These are all artists that I adore. But sadly, they are no longer with us. But this is when I thought, there are so many artists with us today that I wish would create amazing works of art for humankind, for children of the next generation. And I wished very much that such artists could go to space, see the moon up close, and the Earth in full view, and create works that reflect their experience. This is a project that I designed and named Dear Moon. Yeah. I'd like to introduce details about Dear Moon. In 2023, as the host, I'd like to invite 6 to 8 artists from around the world to join me on this mission to the moon. These artists will be asked to create something after they return to Earth. And these masterpieces will inspire the dreamer within all of us. Needless to say, we have always been inspired by the moon. Take, for example, Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, or Van Gogh's The Starry Night, and the Beatles' Mr. Moonlight. These are countless number of works that have been inspired the moon all around the world. Through the ages, the moon has filled our imagination. And with utmost love and respect for the moon, our planet's constant partner, I named this project Dear Moon. At the moment, I have not decided which artists I'd like to invite, but if possible, I'd like to reach out to top artists that represent our planet from various fields, including painters, sculptors, photographers, musicians, film directors, fashion designers, architects, etc. Luckily, we still have some time before 2023, so I hope to work very closely with SpaceX team and to research out to each artist personally. By the way, if you should hear from me, please say yes and accept my invitation. Please don't say no. Okay. In any case, there is still a lot that I cannot announce today, sorry. So I will continue to provide regular updates. We have also created a special website for Dear Moon, which will go live after the press conference. So please take a look. Domain will be dearmoon.earth. Dearmoon.earth, please check out. And I will also keep posting on my social media accounts. So please follow my accounts as well. Okay, so what did you think about this project? Oh. Thank you. Thank you. I was so nervous because my English is poor, but I am glad I got through it. Thank you. And I hope my English was not too painful to you to listen to. Lastly, to give you a summary of what I just tried to describe about the dear moon. You can see the video from now, please.
It has been 50 years since Apollo 8 achieved lunar orbit in 1968. The time has come for civilians to fly to the moon. In 2023, SpaceX will launch the world's first private lunar mission with its spacecraft, BFR. The first passenger will be Japanese entrepreneur Yusaku Maezawa, a globally renowned art collector who believes art has the power to promote world peace. Maezawa made a bold decision. A painter, photographer, musician, film director, fashion designer, Maezawa will invite artists that represent Earth on his journey to the moon. The distance to the moon is 240,000 miles. The crew will spend a week in space. What will they feel when they see the moon? When they see Earth in full view? And what will they create? Their works will certainly become a legacy for humankind. An awe-inspiring, global, universal art project is about to begin. Dear Moon.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Elon, and the SpaceX team for making today possible. I'm very excited. Thank you very much. That's all. Thank you.
All right, so can we do some Q&A? Not sure. Sorry?
Yeah.
Great. How did the questions get asked? I'm not actually sure.
Hi, Elon. It's Ken Chang from New York Times.
Oh, okay.
So
Hey,
in the past 2 years, we've seen 3 designs for this rocket, and it's 5 years before you plan to send these people to the moon.
Have you finalized this? Are you still planning the hybrid test next year? And could you sort of give more details of how you plan all these tests to be ready in 2023? Are you planning like an uncrewed mission to the moon and back?
Yeah, so, but obviously you followed the whole progress of the design, and indeed of SpaceX itself. So you've got quite a lot of background. I feel like this is the final iteration in terms of broad architectural decisions for BFR, BFS. There are a few ways to, there's more than one way to solve this problem. And the prior design, the iteration before this, decoupled the landing legs from the control surfaces and had essentially 6 legs and then 2 actuating rear flaps. I actually did not like the aesthetics of that design, and so we have the 3 sort of large legs with 2 of them actuating as body flaps or large moving wings, effectively. I think this design is probably on par with the other one. It might be better. It's slightly riskier, technically, because of coupling legs and sort of the actuating wing fin flaps. But I think it's the right decision overall. I think it looks beautiful. And I love the Tintin rocket design. So I kind of wanted to bias it towards that. Yeah, if in doubt, go with Tintin. And then additional flights, we're going to do a lot of test flights. So we still anticipate doing hopper flights next year. And then, depending upon how well those go, we'll do high altitude, high velocity flights with the ship in 2020. And also start doing tests of the booster. And if things go well, we could be doing the first orbital flights in about 2 to 3 years. And then we'll do many such test flights, and before putting any people on board. I'm not sure if we will actually test a flight around the moon or not, but probably we will try to do that without people before sending people. That would be wise. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Toshi Ogata from the Japanese newspaper called Asahi Shimbun. Mr. Musk, you chose a Japanese citizen for the first passenger.
Well, he chose us.
What? Oh, okay. But what's your message behind that? The first passenger was a Japanese citizen instead of U.S. citizen or the rest of the world. What's your message to the rest of the world through this announcement?
Well, he is I think, the bravest person and the most willing to do so. And he was the best adventurer, I think. He stepped forward to do it. To be clear, this is, it's really, we're honored that he would choose us. This is not us choosing him. Yeah, I would defer to comments. Maybe you would like to make some comments, but he's a very brave person to do this. And because he is paying, a lot of money, we're not disclosing the amount, but he is paying a lot of money that will help with the development of this ship and booster. And ultimately, this system, this BFR system, is intended to be able to carry anyone to orbit and to the moon and to Mars. And so he is ultimately helping pay for the average citizen to be able to travel to other planets. It's a great thing. Yeah. I hope this is really seen as a very positive thing, and something that people are excited about. It's dangerous, to be clear. This is dangerous. This is no, walk in the park here. This will require a lot of training, and it's not again. It's like, when you're pushing the frontier, it's not a sure thing. It's not like just taking an air flight somewhere. There's some chance that something could go wrong. We'll do everything we can to minimize that. But whenever it's the first flight of something on a new technology, and we're talking about deep space, you have to be a very brave person to do that. This is no small matter.
David Curley from ABC News. 2 quick questions.
Is it possible to know where the mic's coming from? Because I see the speakers.
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah.
No pad. Falcon Heavy and the 2 deposits, the 2 passengers who were going to go, what happened to them? And bigger picture, what did you think when he came to you and said, I want to do an all-civilian global art project and buy an entire flight to the moon?
Well, it's the same person. But with Falcon Heavy and Dragon, that we would have had essentially, especially for a trip around the moon, only room for 2 people, because it's meant for sort of 4 to 7 for low Earth orbit on Dragon. But it's like about the size of an SUV inside there. Like if you have a 5-day journey in an SUV, you don't want to be jam-packed. So that's why there was sort of only kind of 2. Now, BFR has got room for 100, and we said, well, maybe it's wise on this to have about a dozen people or thereabouts on the first trip into deep space, he's very graciously offered to provide those seats to artists and cultural influences and like basically, key influences in society, and we better get that flight right. We're gonna definitely be doing everything we possibly can to make sure that is a good flight. But instead of 2, you can have a dozen, and probably not wise to have 100 on this flight, but we'll leave a lot of extra room for extra fuel and oxygen, sort of food and water, spare parts, just sort of kind of just in case. If something goes wrong, like you have as much opportunity as possible for a recovery. I mean, this is a dangerous mission. It's definitely dangerous. Yep.
Danger.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Makoto Mitsui from the Yomiuri Shimbun, Japanese newspaper. I have 2 quick questions. One goes to Mr. Maezawa and one goes to Mr. Elon. To Maezawa-san, how much did you pay for the moon travel, or how much do you plan to pay for the moon travel? And another question to the Elon. So what kind of SpaceX specific characteristics or company culture do you think has contributed to SpaceX becoming the leading company in the United States to come up with innovations such as BRF? Thank you.
Sorry, I cannot answer the price, the cost today. Sorry.
it's going to be free for the artists. So that's cool. I think it's a really good gesture.
Yeah.
It's good of you to do that. As far as I think what attracts a lot of the best talent in the world, so the best engineers in the world, to SpaceX is the nature of the mission, which is we want to advance space technology to make humanity a multi-planet species. And I think that the very best engineers in the world, it's not just about a job or making a salary or whatever. It's like, how was the time spent? Did it matter? What was the significance of the project? This is very important, I think, to the best engineers, because the best engineers, they can work anywhere. And I think the fact that this is a mission and it's a lot of hard work, but we're trying to go about it in the right way. I think this is a key reason why some of the best people in the world come to work at SpaceX, and that's how we're able to make progress.
Maroon jacket, right here.
Hey.
Hi, how are you? Mireya Villarreal with CBS News. We just had a quick question. I mean, obviously we know that this is going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort, a lot of precision. In the past, we've known that there have been project deadlines that have not been met. For example, with the Falcon Heavy, what makes you so sure that you can actually meet that 2023 deadline?
No, we're definitely not sure. I want to be clear. And I think we've been pretty unsure about prior dates too. I mean, if I had some sort of crystal ball, I'd love to know, how long something will take. I mean, you have to set some kind of date that is kind of like the things go right date. And then, of course, we have reality, and things do not go right in reality. Usually there are many setbacks and issues. So, if we put a date out there, it's kind of like, well, if everything goes approximately right, then this is the date. But there's so many uncertainties. I mean, this is a ridiculously big rocket. It's got so much advanced technology. I mean, it's not 100% certain that we succeed in getting this to flight. It's not even 100% certain. I think it's pretty likely, but it's not certain. And yeah, but we're going to do everything humanly possible to bring it to flight as fast as we can, and as safely as we can. Yeah.
Hi, Stephen Clark from Spaceflight Now. Elon, have you made a decision on where the BFR will launch and land initially? And also, for Yusaku, if you're not saying how much you are paying, but can you say if you've made a down payment of any kind at this point? Thank you.
Yes, I did. Already.
Yeah, here's the real deal. Definitely it's made a significant deposit on the on the price, which is a significant price, and will actually have a material effect on on paying for the cost of development of BFR. It's a non-trivial amount it's like a material impact to the BFR program. So it really actually it makes a difference. This is, yeah. He puts his money where his mouth is. It's legit. So. Sorry, there's another part to the question, maybe? I don't know.
Yes, have you selected a launch and landing site for BFR for the initial flights and the first orbital flights? Thank you.
We've not yet firmly decided on a, I should say for the short hops, we will be doing it out of our Texas site. So we have a site that is on the south coast of Texas, near Brownsville. and that's where we will be doing the initial hops of BFS. You should probably think of a different name, but this was like kind of the code name and it kind of stuck, but we might change that name in the future. Yeah, the only thing is, like, I think we want to name like the first ship that goes to Mars after the Douglas Adams, my favorite spaceship, the Heart of Gold from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Yeah. As for the first orbital flights, we've not made a firm decision on that, and it may actually be that we launch from a floating platform. That's possible.
Hi, thanks for doing this. You've shown us the outside of the spacecraft. Can you talk about the work that you've done so far and what the plan is for stuff that goes in it? Life support, interior, all the safety stuff you're going to need. And speaking of safety, you mentioned this is a very dangerous mission. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Like, is there any quantification you can provide to us? Any sort of testing you're doing to the carbon fiber body, things like that, to ensure that this can be as safe as possible? Thanks.
For the interior, we've just have some sort of concepts in terms of what it would be like, and depending upon what type of mission, you'd have a different configuration. So if you were going to Mars, for example, that's at least kind of a 3-month journey, maybe upwards of a 6 or 7 month journey. So if you're going to be in something for 3 to 6 months, you want to have like a cabin, and then have like a common area for recreation, and some sort of meeting rooms, or, like, because you'll be in this thing for months. Now, if you're going, say, to the moon or around the moon, you kind of have a several day journey. So probably still want cabins. Yeah. Common area. I think you want to have like a lot of like what is the most fun that you can have in 0G? That for sure is a key thing. Fun is underrated. It's like 3 more of that. So, well, like, what is the most enjoyable thing we can possibly do? We will do that, I think. And then safety-wise, this will be built upon our work with the NASA Crew Dragon design. We're going to put more engineering effort into having a fully recyclable system for BFR, because if you have a very long journey, it makes sense to have like a sort of closed loop oxygen CO2 system, a closed loop water system. Whereas if you are, say, just going out for several days, you don't necessarily need to have a fully closed loop system. So there's like a fair bit of engineering that's needed for the Mars journey, but I think probably we can mostly leverage the work we've done for the NASA Crew mission to the space station for the lunar journeys. And we've learned a great deal from NASA, and I really just want to, just give another word of appreciation to NASA. We would not be where we are today without them, and that NASA does remain our primary priority, along with national security space missions. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Tim Fernholtz with Quartz over here. Hey Elon, hey MZ. Question for each of you. MZ, I'm curious if you could talk about what kind of training you expect to go ahead of this mission, what the experience is going to be like to you, and how much input you're having in that that's tourist experience. And then Elon, I'm just curious if you can tell us what percentage of the company's effort or time is going to BFR right now versus other projects, and how important is that April 2019 commercial crew flight to making this moon mission happen?
Can I answer in Japanese? まあこれから全部決めますと。まだ何も決まってません。でトレーニングもどんなことするかもまだ分かりません。
So nothing is written in stone, so we are going to start discussions and decide here on forward. And we haven't really discussed what type of training we'll be doing either.
All right, let's see. In terms of SpaceX resources, this is still quite a small portion of SpaceX resources. Certainly less than 5% of SpaceX. Less than 5% of SpaceX resources are currently spent on BFR. Now that will change quite significantly in the years to come. But overwhelmingly, our resources are focused on launching satellites, transporting cargo to and from the space station, and then our top priority is the upcoming NASA crew mission next year, and we're hoping to do a test flight of Dragon 2 in December, and then a crewed flight next year, hopefully in the sort of second quarter of next year. So that's definitely our top priority. As we complete Crew Dragon, then we will shift our resources more and more to BFR. So I think, assuming that the National Crew Mission goes well, and that's really quite fundamental to the future of SpaceX. As I said, it's the top priority. Then, once that is, well, hopefully, assuming that is successful and goes well, then we're probably towards the end of next year, we would switch a majority of our new engineering development towards BFR by the end of next year.
Hi, this is Liz Lopato with The Verge. I have two questions. I have one for the passenger and one about the rocket. My first question is, what do you look forward to most while you're in space? What do you most want to do while you're going around the moon? And the second is, how much money is it going to take to develop the BFR to make this trip?
I love art, so アートとアートの融合だから、アーティストとアーティストがコラボレーションして何が生まれるかっていうのを目の前で見ることができるのが非常に楽しみです。
So I love art, and I'm looking very much forward to seeing what different artists getting together could bring to life.
It's actually hard to say what the development cost is of the BFR system. I think it's roughly $5 billion. You know, it's difficult to say what it would end up being, but that's, if I were to guess, it would be something like $5 billion, which would be really quite a small amount for a project of this nature. Like $5 billion is obviously a very large amount of money, but small for a project of this nature. Yeah.
Last question to the LA Times.
Hi, Samantha Masanaga, LA Times. One question for Elon. You mentioned the various revenue streams that you're planning to use to pay for BFR development. What's your estimate of the development costs for BFR?
Sorry, just the question.
Oh, what's your estimate of development costs for BFR?
Oh, that's what I was talking about. Is for this BFR system, I think it's probably on the order of $5 billion. Something like that. I don't think it's more than 10, and I don't think it's like less than 2. We can do a few more questions if there's, yeah. I want to make sure if you've made your way out here and you feel like there's an important question that we haven't, we definitely try to do our best to answer it.
Elon.
By the way, thanks guys for coming out here. It's good to see you. Yeah.
Elon, Ed Ludlow from Bloomberg Television. Thank you for the event. I have a question about lunar landing and trips to the surface, because you outlined your vision for multi-planet species, the future of the human race. Is that something concrete in the near term as a stepping stone or a way to drive additional revenue. And for the passenger, have you spoken to any of your billionaire friends, any of your high net worth friends, to either convince them of your vision to join you on BFR, or to answer Elon's plea for funding for more BFR? If you could answer that, I'd be grateful. Thank you.
Well, I think it'd be very exciting to have a moon base. I used to watch this like corny show called like Moon Base Alpha. It's like made no sense, but it was cool. Like there was a base on the moon. Like we should have a base on the moon. Like why do we? It's 2018. Why is there no base on the damn moon? There should be one. And we should go there a lot. You know, I think that would be amazing to have a base on the moon, particularly if it was like something where like the average person, if they saved up, could go. That would be incredible. And that's like the kind of thing we want to do. Sorry? Oh yeah, no, BFR is designed to land on any surface in the solar system, whether there's air or not. That's why it's important to have a propulsive landing system. You know, like wings and landing gear work great on Earth, but they kind of need an atmosphere and a runway. You know, and like who's going to build that runway? How do you get? Begs the question. Like somebody's going to build the runway. Also, there's no air on the moon, but tricky to land with wings. So propulsive landing is the way to go. It's like actually the only way to go, really. You could try to use if you had a small payload, like try to sort of bounce. You know, like that was like one of the Mars missions. Like you had like a inflatable kind of like bouncy castle thing. But I don't think that's like gonna sell well. So propulsive landing is the way to go. And this is designed for propulsive landing, and the fins are designed to deal with a wide range of atmospheric conditions. So it could, you know, land on well, in theory, another planet with atmosphere. You wouldn't want to land on Venus, though. Yeah, it's kind of like Mars and Earth, pretty much, that have an atmosphere. Everything else is either not relevant in its atmosphere, or it's like a gas giant or something like that. So you really want propulsive landing, and then you use an atmosphere if it's helpful for braking, but you don't require it. Yeah. But like we want it'd be great if there was regularly scheduled flights to the moon. I mean that's a great future. That's a great future. Yeah.
Thank you, Elon. Eric Johnson with Reuters News. Let's say you hit your 2023 goal, and you just talked about, regular lunar trips. Can you talk about what your goal is for an annual ramp up of how many trips you'd like to see? That's question one. And then the second part is, Boeing CEO has said that the first humans will go to Mars on a Boeing rocket.
Game on. Let's do it.
Okay, that's what I want to ask you is, given the increased competition,
good.
What do you have to say to that? Thank you so much.
I say yeah, good. That's I'm glad you said that. That's great. We should do it. Competition's a good thing. It's races are interesting. I say I'm glad. I hope Boeing really goes hardcore for moon and Mars missions. Yeah, that'd be really great. As far as the ramp up, it's as fast as we can make it go, we'll make it go. We're pedal to the metal. We just need to make sure we have our priorities right. And our priority is, the NASA, crewed mission, our satellite customers. Those are our current priorities. And once we are confident that that is taken care of, then we will ramp up BFR big time, get the Starlink system active. Hopefully that does the trick. And it'd be great if Boeing, they're really good at making airplanes. So maybe they can be really good at making rockets too. That's great.
Hey Elon, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut here. I see that you changed the engine configuration for the BFS. Can you talk a little bit about, is there still engine out capability? Is it vacuum optimized but still landable on sea level? Can they function as an abort system? Can you just kind of tell us about your new decision making on that?
Oh yeah, actually you noticed that, that's a good thing to notice. Good eye. So in order to minimize the development risk and cost, we decided to commonize the engine between the booster and the ship. So like a future upgrade path for BFS would be to have a vacuum optimized nozzle. So these are sort of, these nozzles are kind of a, kind of a sea level nozzle, size nozzle, so that they are able to operate well at sea level, because they're essentially the booster size nozzle. Like where you see that sort of cargo around the perimeter, you can actually switch out those cargo sections for a vacuum nozzle version of Raptor. So, and it can go all the way to, the vacuum nozzle can go all the way to the perimeter of all the way to basically the skin of the vehicle. So you can have you can have something which has maybe three or four times the exit diameter of the Raptors that you see there, as engines in the perimeter, and the exchange would be that you'd lose basically 2 of those cargo racks in exchange for every vacuum engine, but then your total payload performance to Mars would increase significantly. But we can do the 100 tons to the surface of Mars with those engines. But it would definitely, I think, like version 2 would have the vacuum engines most likely in place of those cargo racks. Yeah, but having those the engines in that configuration, with 7 engines means it's definitely capable of engine out at any time, including 2 engine out in almost all circumstances. So you could lose 2 engines and still be totally safe. In fact, in some cases you can lose up to 4 engines and still be totally fine. So it only needs 3 engines for landing. 3 out of 7. Yeah.
Yvan Couronne of Agence France Presse. Mr. Maezawa, have you thought about how you're going to select the artist? And Mr. Musk, can you give us an idea of whether Mr. Maezawa contributed more or less than 5% of the development cost?
In principle, I would like to reach out to the artists that I love.
5% でもやってくれてありがとう。
And I'm happy with just 5%. Thank you very much for working on the rocket.
Enough. Thank you.
Well, I don't think we're gonna obviously do any percentage math that would kind of give it away, but it's material. It's a material percentage. Material percentage.
Hi, Elon. Robert Perlman with Collect Space and Space.com.
Okay. Sorry, it's almost impossible to see what's going on. Okay.
You showed a trajectory screen before. For this flight, can you talk a little bit about the profile, maximum G that the passengers will experience? How long will they be at the moon, and how close will they be above the surface?
Well, it's important to bear in mind that we can actually adjust the maximum Gs in exchange for a reduction in payload. So this is a mission we could probably do in the ascent phase, keeping it under a 3G ascent. Although normally you'd probably want to go to 5Gs, but under 3Gs, maybe even 2.5, because we'd have a lot of extra payload. And then this mission would be a loop around the moon. The exact mission profile has not been decided, but I think it would be pretty exciting to kind of skim the surface, go real close, and then zoom out far, and then come back around. So in the diagram, it looks kind of symmetric, but I think you'd probably want to go real close, and then go zooming past the moon, go far out, kind of get about as far from Earth as you can get within reason. So like even the moon's relatively small, and you come zipping back in, and then if we do we could do sort of like like an initial atmospheric. There are like two ways to do it. You can either go come straight in, which would be a relatively high G situation. That might be like maybe a 6G entry or something like that. Or you could do one where you skim the atmosphere and shed velocity, and then capture into low Earth orbit, and then do a deorbit burn and come in which case you could probably keep the entry Gs hopefully to around 3. This is sort of pretty off the cuff here, but those are kind of, I think, close-ish numbers. Yeah.
This is the last question.
Michael Sheets with CNBC. Elon, you're standing next to the first real person who's putting money behind a project of putting people into space. What does that make you think about going into space yourself, and when do you think that's going to happen?
You mean like me personally? Oh, well, I think first of all, like I would say, I think this is like done a lot to restore my faith in humanity, that somebody's willing to do this. To take their money and like help fund this new project that's risky, might not succeed, it's dangerous. It's like donating seats. Like, these are great things. It's like, I tell you, it's done a lot to restore my faith in humanity. And as far as me going, I'm not sure. He did suggest like maybe that I would join on this trip. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, maybe we'll both be on it. All right, thanks everyone for coming. It's very exciting. It's guaranteed to be a really exciting journey, and we'll keep you posted along the way. Yeah, I mean, I hope you're fired up. I'm super fired up. This is going to be great. Thank you.
Okay. We still here? Okay, there we go. Wow, that went on for a while. I really want to thank everybody who has stuck around. There's still plenty of you guys out there. So let's kind of look back at some of the stuff that they talked about here. So first of all, I think we just got to see the most expensive commercial for Zozo that they'll ever do. This is not a company I'd ever heard of. I guess some other people had, but I looked up a little bit of information. Yusaku Maezawa, he's worth 1.3 billion. Actually, no, he's worth 3.1 billion. That's what I saw. He wants to do this project called Dear Moon and bring 7 or 8 artists with him to go to the moon, go around the moon. Of course, what I'm mostly interested in is the cool stuff with the new rocket, and it kind of bums me out that the only footage that we got to see of like CG rendering of the rockets taking off and stuff was in the Dear Moon promo. But hopefully, they usually do this after an announcement like this. They usually put out that promo video for the rocket. So hopefully we'll see that in the next day or so. Maybe by the time we get done right here, they'll have that up. That would be kind of cool. But let's see what else. So Tim, of course, I told you Tim Dodd was there, and he got to ask the very question that I was most curious about, which was the whole vacuum bell situation. And if I understand Elon right, he was kind of talking about some stuff that was to the very top of my head in terms of engineering stuff. It seems like he was talking about that the arrangement of the engines kind of facilitates that, and to be able to like direct the force in the way that it needs to go for going out into space. So anyway, so that was something, wasn't it? I don't know about you guys. I don't know. So I'm a little bit torn with the whole idea of, I'm just kind of riffing right now, by the way. This is not pre-thought out stuff. You know, he was getting very emotional there at the end when he was talking about how it restored his faith in humanity. Something that I've noticed is that Elon gets emotional a lot in interviews. He tends to get a little choked up, and I frankly like that. I think there's a lot of people in the public sphere that, you know, tamp down their emotions a little bit too much. But yeah, so they were talking about it being in 2023 is when they want to do this. You know what? While I'm talking, I'm going to see if that website is up. He was talking about, they have dearmoon.com. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can pull that up. This is probably going to be... Oh, no, it's dearmoon.earth. That's what it is. Moon.earth. All right, we're not finding the server, so I guess it's not up yet. Yeah, so the plan was to do that in 2023. Clearly, there's a lot that's going to happen between now and then. I was trying to kind of put together a timeline earlier from... they were saying the end of next year, they're going to start doing grasshopper-style tests with the BFS. That's the upper stage of the rocket. And then in 2020, I guess, they'll start actually doing some launches with it, hopefully. Maybe the first manned missions by 2021. I'm assuming they're going to send an unmanned version around the moon at some point, then maybe one with professional crew, and then one with Mr. Maezawa and his crew of artists. I'm curious what you guys are thinking about the artist thing. I mean, on one hand, you know, the hippie part of me kind of likes it. I mean, really, what else can you do? It's not like they're going to send a bunch of, well, I guess they could send a bunch of scientists doing experiments up there, but they're going to be able to do that over and over and over again, I assume. I don't know. Yeah. So let me, this went a little bit longer than I thought. I want to kind of wrap this up a little bit so I can kind of get back on stuff from next Monday's video. I got to work on that thing, guys, which actually has a lot to do with what we're talking about here. So we had some super chats that came through, and I wanted to make sure and give you guys a thank you. By the way, I think my computer is cursed when it comes to live streams. It's just, it never fails that something goes wrong, and I apologize for the bad sound. I'm gonna have to figure out what the deal was there. Yeah. So person with a bunch of numbers donated a couple bucks and said, "No pressure, Joe. 2,000 people and no sound." Exactly. Rinwilms said, "Love the channel. Almost always laugh and learn. Also like that you are not an expert, but a genuine enthusiast. Keep up the good craft. I appreciate that." Melforce Silver said, "Hi, Joe. If you need any content, I went to space camp and can help you." Oh, that's awesome. I wanted to go to space camp so bad when I was a kid. Remember the movie Space Camp? I still would like to, I would love to have like an 80s cover band and call it Jinx Put Max in Space. And anybody who doesn't get the joke doesn't deserve to be at our show. William Weeks pointed out that my Safari sucks. Yes, it does. I've noticed that. ML4 Silver. Oh, that's the same guy. You commented again. Well, thanks again then. So, yeah, somebody was talking about Elon actually going into space, and I think he has been asked that before. I don't know. I wonder if he's ever going to actually do it. If he gets to the point where, you know, BFR is this sort of like point-to-point Earth transfer kind of thing, you know, if it becomes that much of just a almost like a plane ride or something like that. Of course, I could see him doing it then. Maybe if he gets really old and it's like a bucket list thing, and he said he wants to die on Mars. So I don't know how serious he was about that. But so the way this thing lands, it's similar to what they had last time when they showed it landing on Mars. This is a little bit different from like the way the space shuttle landed. The space shuttle just through the atmosphere and, you know, generated all that heat and everything. This is more of a free fall almost. It's the way it looked to me anyway, wasn't so much like just a powering through the atmosphere and burning up and all that kind of thing. It looked like more of a sort of a skipping around and floating until it got to just the right place, and then it propulsively came down and landed. But that's kind of what they showed last time with the Mars landing, with that sort of wireframe animation that they had. So the thing that bothers me about that is I've never seen that really done before. It seems like a whole new way of landing, and I don't know. I guess they'll have to test it out a few times, make sure it works. He did express the same issue that I had, or the same concern that I had about the actuated landing gears actually being on a hinge, that felt a little bit risky. And he said that word. He said that it's a little bit risky doing that, but he said he wanted to do it for aesthetic reasons. And this is interesting to me. As much of an engineer as Elon is, he also seems to also want to make sure it looks nice. And he was referencing Tintin. He wanted it to look like Tintin. He loves to reference his favorite like sci-fi things, you know, with the Hitchhiker's Guide, wanting to name the first one that goes to Mars the Heart of Gold and that kind of thing. So Morgan H threw $5 my way. Thank you for that. He says send at least one flat earther. You know what? Yeah, I would love to do that. I would love to just pack a ship full of flat earthers and have them go up there. And the first time somebody says, this is just an LCD screen, they just open it up and let them just fly out. Edward Hamilton says, yeah, I feel weird about the artist thing. I can't explain it. And I feel a little guilty for feeling this way, but I do. Mixed feelings. I get you, man. I know what you're talking about. I mean, on one hand, it seems like a nice little bring humanity together kind of thing. But also, it kind of cracks me up a little bit because somebody was asking why Elon chose a Japanese citizen to go first, and Elon was kind of like, he paid the money, you know. And to me, that just kind of says everything you need to know about it. Like, that was the whole point. It's like they're the guy paid the money, so we're gonna send him up. That's what else do you want to know? And ultimately, that's really what this is all about. They're trying to raise money for the production and building of this vehicle, the construction of it, design. Somebody also asked the question that I would have wanted to ask, which is how close to the final design is this? Because, you know, as I said at the beginning of this, how long ago was that? 2 days ago when I started this live stream? The design has changed so much over the last 3 years. This person was basically asking how close to the final design is this? And I know that's an impossible question to answer. You know, the design is going to change, is going to evolve as they start testing it, especially. All kinds of things I'm sure are going to pop up that they're going to need to tweak here and there. But he was saying that I don't remember his exact words, but he kind of gave the hint that, like, design-wise and architecturally, I think was the word he used, this is about as close to it as it's going to get. You know, I'm going to pull up one of those pictures just so you can take a look at it here. Yeah, so design-wise, this is about as close as he thought it was going to get. By the way, there were some images that they shared at the beginning of this thing that were really cool, and I think we're going to be seeing those floating around in the next few days. There was one of like a dancer just kind of floating in front of those big windows. Those big windows get me excited, I gotta say. The idea of oh, hello, that's the wrong one. Yeah, the idea of having the big windows out front where people can just kind of like, you know, the thing you do when you're in space. Yeah. I think somebody asked if I would want to go. If I would, hang on, let me go back. Somebody said, don't forget my towel. Exactly. Vinicius Felipe Rodriguez da Silva. Maybe someone already asked you this, but would you go in the Dear Moon flight if you could? I think somebody was saying that the guy needed to invite me to go. I don't know if I'm enough of an artist. I'm not enough of an artist to do that. Would I go? I would love the experience. I gotta say, the experience sounds awesome. I mean, some people have asked me this before in various iterations of would I want to go to Mars? Would I want to, be on the BFR or whatever? I wouldn't want to be the first one to go. I wouldn't want to be one of the people that tests the whole thing out. I don't want to be a guinea pig. But yeah, you know what? Going to space sounds awesome. Sounds totally awesome. People have asked if I would want to go on the New Shepard once they get that up and going and everything. I don't see me being able to afford that anytime soon, but honestly, yeah, I would jump at that. I think that'd be awesome. I would love to have that experience. So I don't see Mr. Maezawa asking me to go because I have not contributed to the art world in any meaningful way. But Thaddeus Walker says Tim Dodd, the everyday photographer, would go. He's the everyday astronaut. He's the weekend photographer. He's the everyday astronaut. Speaking for him. But yeah, he would. He would love that. So let me just answer a few questions here, and then we're going to kind of wrap this thing up because it's been going for 2 hours, and I really do appreciate you guys sticking around, man. This is awesome. Yeah, so Anarcho-Futurist says he's pretty curious about the updated plans for their Mars timeline. Definitely going to be pushed back at least a couple of years, but how much exactly? Yeah, that's a good question, man. I mean, it depends on how much they really ramp up this whole BFR thing. Because, I mean, if they have multiple BFRs, there's no reason why they couldn't be doing, unmanned missions to Mars and doing things to the moon at the same time, as well as trips to the ISS and whatever else they have going on. But maybe the cost of the whole program is all up front, and it's all a matter of spending that money to get everything going up front, and then once they kind of get the process down, producing more of them, we're talking big numbers here still, but it's not going to be as expensive, and they could build a whole fleet of them maybe. And if so, then maybe that won't push things back as much, But yeah, I mean, if it was like a linear timeline, if we're going to the moon in 2023, if we're just looping around the moon in 2023, the idea of landing on Mars in 2024, I've always said that I think it's probably more reasonably going to be the 2030s before we really land on the moon, which is more NASA speed. I always thought their plan was more, what's the word I'm looking for? More traditional, more safe, more careful. Obviously, they're NASA. But the right word is not coming to me. I'm just going to go through my thesaurus for a second. But anyway, I've always been skeptical that they would actually be able to get to Mars by the early 2020s. So I'm still imagining it would probably be the mid-20s to the late 20s at the earliest before they get there. Does this push that back? I would hope that it accelerates it because they actually have some kind of money coming in for that program. One thing he did mention that I think is super interesting or super important is that once they get the Crew Dragon up towards Q2 of 2019, he said by the end of 2019, most of their engineering and development cost and resources are going to go toward the BFR. So I'll be talking about this soon, but I feel like the Crew Dragon is sort of just a stepping stone. It's like something they kind of have to do in the meantime until they get BFR up and going. I really look forward to starting to see some BFR tests in the near future. Would I like to die on Mars? Asked Black NASA. I guess if you gotta go, that's one way to do it. Let's see. So D-Steve7 says Elon needs to change the name to BFB. Ships carry cargo, boats carry people. Okay, fair enough. the big freaking boat. Although I would have to look up the dictionary. Does it have to be on the water? I don't know. Yeah, Ricardo Becerra, did I say it right? Says NASA is also politically bureaucratic. That's absolutely true. The thing about NASA is, you know, in 4 years, there's a new president, a new administration, their budget gets changed, and that's always been a frustration with NASA. They'll make some plans, and then, and this isn't a political thing, by the way. It's Democrats and Republicans, they go through and they mess with it. Democrats have certainly taken down the budget some, and vice versa. So it's not a politically one way or another, but it just gets messed with. It's like having a company whose CEO changes every 4 years, and then they come in with all new plans, and it's like, well, I had fun working on this for 4 years, and now that's down the drain. So, and so some people argue that's why the private route is a better way to go. But yeah. So let's see. Somebody left a little something here. Oh, is photos? Thank you for that, sir. Very much, or ma'am. There's no gender to is photos. Let's see what else we got here. Exoplanets channel asked if anybody has watched the movie Moon with Sam Rockwell. I have not seen that movie. I need to see it. By the way, interesting show just got started on Hulu. I've only seen the first episode so far, but it's called The First, and it's got Sean Penn in it, and it's about the first trip to Mars. Very relevant to anybody who likes this channel. It's a similar kind of thing. That's a private company that's doing it, and so far it's very very artsy. It's very slow moving, but like I said, I'm only one episode into it, but you guys check it out. It's up your alley. So Joseph Davis is saying that the site works now. Let's see. I don't see it working. Hang on. Yeah, if I can get this Dear Moon site up, I'll switch over there and see what we're dealing with here. Nope. Oh, for God's sake. Okay, so let's take a look at this real quick. All right, so yeah, this is that dearmoon.earth site. So I guess this is probably the video that they showed. Yeah.
It has been 50 years since Apollo 8 achieved lunar orbit in 1968. The time has come for civilians to fly to the moon. In 2023, SpaceX will launch the world's first private lunar mission with its spacecraft, BFR. The first passenger will be Japanese entrepreneur Yusaku Maezawa, a globally renowned art collector who believes art has the power to promote world peace. Maezawa made a bold decision. A painter, photographer, musician, film director, fashion designer, Maezawa will invite artists that represent Earth on his journey to the moon. The distance to the moon is 240,000 miles. The crew will spend a week in space. What will they feel when they see the moon? When they see Earth in full view? And what will they create? Their works will certainly become a legacy for humankind. An awe-inspiring, global, universal art project is about to begin. Dear Moon.
Nice use of Gymnopédie in that. Let me see if I can close this down a little bit. Yeah, there we go. We can take a look at what else is on here. Look like just some images that were similar to that video. So yeah. A painter, musician, film director, fashion designer, and skateboarder, looks like. What is that? Oh, maybe it's a fashion designer. Yeah, I think we will be seeing these videos around. Okay, so these are the old ones. Yeah, those are the old videos. There's the flight plan. It looks like they have them taking off from, like, oh, I guess that's Florida. Never mind. I was like, is that Cuba? No, it's Florida. Okay. Oh, okay. So here's a timeline. 2018 announced project. That's what happened today. Finalized members sometime between now and then. Training and preparation. Liftoff in 2023. Artists create work, publicize work, and then sometime after that, there'll be an exhibition. So I guess it's not just what it's not just going on the flight, but it's like what they create from that afterwards. I mean, it could be cool. Who knows? I'm open to it. Got to get some very daring artists to go up there and share their experience. Oh, we got some more super chats came in. Let me refer to you guys real quick. I might answer just a few more questions, and then I need to kind of head out. And you guys probably have other things to do too. Oh, here we go. Pedro Heck. All heck. Hey, Joe, which 6 artists would you choose to go if you were to go in this place? Oh, my God. Wow. Put me on the spot. Man, can you imagine if Terrence Malick went up there? Of course, I'm thinking filmmakers because that's kind of my background. I'm not as much on the visual artists or the fashion designers. Musicians. What would be a cool musician to go up there? Maybe like M83 or... who's a musician that's really... If you could fund a lunar mission, who would you send? That's what Edward Hamilton asked. Melissa Big Mac thanks me for sharing this. And Ron Floyd needs some coffee soon. God, so do I, man. You have no idea. Man, that's a good question. Let's open that up for discussion and kind of wrap it up with that. How about it? Like, what artists would you want to go to the moon? There aren't really any artists that I follow that are living right now, to be honest with you, in terms of like painters or anything like that. So I am up for Elton John. Elton John, Rocket Man. Filmmakers are dope AF, bro. The Rolling Stones. Grimes will go. Ooh, that's funny. M83 would make a bomb-ass music video. You're right. Rush, good idea. Lil Pump. Funny. Maynard James Keenan, that's a good one. Some people are saying David Bowie. Of course, he's already out there. You know he's on. You know he's Rocket Man. You know he's on that Roadster. Ed Sheeran. It's funny. Bjork. So we're doing a lot of musicians. Christopher Nolan. That'd be fun. James Cameron. T-Pain. How about a YouTuber? You know, Michael from Vsauce would love to go. Oh, Ron says that I need coffee. I do. I seriously need coffee right now. People throwing porn star names in there. Psy, Aerosmith. He's just flying through that. Lindsey Sterling, violinist. I played violin once upon a time. True story. Justin Bieber. You know, if it was Justin Bieber, it would just be him, and they would just kind of crash it into the moon. That's all it would be. Chris Hadfield. He's done his time. He's already been up there. Willie Nelson, Banksy. Banksy would be interesting. Of course, he would have to come out as to who he was. Matt Damon. You know what? I'm gonna stick by my Terrence Malick. Terrence Malick or Godfrey Reggio. They would make some amazing stuff out of that. Because I think of them more as artists than filmmakers, really. But YouTuber, yeah, it would have to be some kind of science YouTuber. Maybe the Minute Physics guys. Vsauce would definitely like that kind of thing. There's also some YouTubers that would probably be good to just kind of put on a ship and crash it into it. Linus Tech Tips, that'd be fun, yeah. Shatner. Has Shatner ever actually been... Shatner needs to go to space. Let's make it happen, guys. William Shatner needs to go to space. Isaac Arthur. Yeah, obviously. Scott Manley. We need to make sure he flies safe. Yeah, Logan Paul. Let's see. Okay, we get it. Little Pump. Whoever keeps saying that, we see you. I don't know if I would call Tom Hanks an artist necessarily, but anyway, tell you what, guys, this has been fun. Not quite what I was expecting, really. I mean, it's interesting. It's something I kind of have to think through, and we'll be having conversations about this moving forward. There's still a lot of you guys watching, and I do appreciate it with all the technical issues and everything. People always ask why I don't do more live streams. That's why. There's always some big technical glitch that happens to me. But I am going to head out now, guys, and I am going to start working on Monday's video, which is fairly important, I hear. And yeah, so I'm gonna cut this off, and I hope you guys have a great one. I do have a video coming out on Thursday. If you haven't seen today's video, Monday's video, I got a little bit different. I tried some different stuff with it. I got a little bit more philosophical, a little bit more poetic. I tried to stretch those muscles. Some people seem to like it, some people don't. Every time I change even the music just a little bit, not everybody, but a lot of people freak out about it. So I just say let your friendly neighborhood YouTuber stretch their legs every once in a while and try something new, because it's very easy to get burnt out when you're just constantly cranking out content. And the last thing you want is for me or any other content creator that you enjoy to start dreading getting in front of the camera. We got to be able to do different things and try new stuff. And if you like it, great. And if not, well, maybe it's just not your thing, and we'll get it next time. But anyway, thanks again, you guys. I'm going to cut this off. Everybody who sent a super chat, very much thank you so much. Everybody who stuck around this whole time, thank you so much. I'm going to try to figure out this issue with the sound so that maybe this won't happen again. But anyway, I'll catch you guys soon. Have a great one. Love you guys.